Okay, looking at a shared iPad, you can move around your apps if you so want to make it a little bit easier to find things. You can put your finger down and keep your finger pressed down until they all start shaking and wiggling, and then you can move them around. You can swipe pages to left and right to different pages of apps. You can drag them down to the toolbar on the bottom if you want, if it's something you need to access often. You can put them into folders, common apps, so if you overtop them each other, put them over top of each other, and then you can change the folder name. So I could turn that into Adobe. And then if I tap anywhere else, the folder closes and there's a folder. I can open the folder and then I can move the apps out of it. And I can move that one out of it, and then the folder will disappear because it's empty. If I need to update apps, you'll have to have your login and password for this. And you'll see at the bottom right when I go into the App Store is for updates. And there's a bunch here that need updating. So if I tap Update All at the top right, I get the login and password. So this is where I would need to know my login and password. If you don't know it, you can't update it, and you just have to go out of there if you don't know how to do it, or if you don't have access to do it. So checking out the settings for the iPad, and you only have access to edit some of them if they're a shared device. Okay, so we open up onto the general. We can go down to mail. So some of the iPads are locked down so that you can't add new accounts. This is to protect everyone, because if they're a shared iPad, you wouldn't want all your information showing up on everyone's iPad. So the messages, you can either log in with the Apple ID, and if you log in with the shared Apple ID, you're going to run into problems. If you log in with the shared Apple ID, any text messaging you do is going to show up on all of the shared iPads. And if you create a new account, you can do that here, but even then it's a little bit iffy, and it's not strongly suggested. Same with FaceTime here. You can log in with a brand new account if you want. Don't log into the shared account. But if you do, you need to make sure that you're deleting it right away when you're finished with it, because other people get access to that information if not, and that stuff. So if you go to the store, you can do some quick little changes there, but again, you'll need the login and password of the shared account to do that. So it's best just to leave things the way they are. And there's notes and photos that you can change settings for. You can change settings for the Safari web browser. You can change the general settings. So here we have sounds and ringtones and the volume. You can change those types of things. You can play with information about the network. So I could choose a new Wi-Fi network. So I could choose from the ones that are available, or I can add other if it's one that I know there's it around and I can add it. I can go and check the Bluetooth. So if I needed to connect a Bluetooth headset or a Bluetooth keyboard, I do it here. And restrictions. So a lot of the shared iPads have restrictions on them. That's to prevent any of the accounts from being changed and from apps from being deleted and things happening to the iPads. So it's a 4-digit code, and it allows you to go in and change those. So if it's restricted, you may not be able to change some things. And there's different settings for picture frame if you're using it as a picture frame, but the brightness and wallpaper. So this is the screen and the background of it. So on this one it said Scudsby B01. So preferring that these aren't changed so that it's easy to figure out which iPad is which. If you do change it, it's important to change it back to what it was before so that we can still identify which iPad is which easily just by flipping open the cover. So those are all the settings. And if you take a look at Safari or the web browser here, this is where we access any general internet browsing. And you can type in the address. So we can put in Google here. And every time you touch a box where you're going to type, you'll see the keyboard automatically pops up on the iPad. So here's Google. And we could type in a web address like Scudsby Network Learning if we wanted to go to that website. And oops, must have spelt it wrong. So if I put my finger over top of the web address and keep it pressed down, there we go, a little search bubble will show up, and I can find the place where I made my mistake, a magnifying glass, and then I can edit that text and then hit enter and try that again. Let's see if I spelt it. Yep, better this time. There we go. So on Scudsby Network Learning, you'll notice on the right-hand side is a link to a page on iPad and iPod apps, or an iPad an iPod and iPhone apps. So here's a list of different apps that some people have used in education, and then there's a whole bunch of comments at the bottom too where other people are adding to this all the time. So if you have ideas, then feel free to add new apps and ideas. And Dropbox is one way to access files. So if I create an account at dropbox.com, I can upload files to that from any computer. And then if I come into the app here and hit settings, I can enter in my login information for my Dropbox account, and all my files will show up here under Dropbox. So I can go back to my main folder, and then I can open up any of those folders that I've put, and I can open up any files that I've stored in Dropbox. So I can go to this Essential Practices document, and here's that whole PDF. I can go through it and access it. I could send it off, send the link to somebody, or if I hit this icon in the top right, I can open this PDF in another program. So I could choose Goodreader if I wanted to, which is a tool for annotating PDFs, or I could use Explain Everything, which is for making little videos and pictures, like tutorials. So it's importing this PDF. It took every page of that PDF and put it on a different slide. You'll see at the bottom I have 13 slides. So I can move this document around, I can look at it. I can pinch it with 2 fingers and it makes it go smaller. I can, with 2 fingers, rotate it so that it turns around and moves around my page. There we go. And once I get that document sorted out, I can use the pen tool and hold it down until I get these options, and then choose my color and how thick I want my line. And I can underline, I can draw on the page. If I hit the text box and then tap the screen, I can type in words and then tap outside of that to get out of it. And I can make that text bigger and smaller and move it around the screen as well. Oh, there we go. We can make it nice and big. And I can take shapes, so tap and hold down there to get my options. I could choose a star, and it's yellow with a red outline. And I could choose another star, and this time I want the star color to be, I think we'll go with orange and make the outline orange as well, so that it doesn't look like it has an outline. There we go. There's our orange star. And move that wherever I want. And now if I, on the right hand side here, choose the picture icon, I can save the picture of this annotated document to my photo gallery on my iPad. So now that's saved. I'm good to go. And now what I can do is I can record a video. So I hit the record button, and now I'm recording everything I do. So I'm choosing a pen, I'm writing on the screen, I'm talking to the video or whatever it is that I'm annotating. I can move stuff around, so I can move the text, I can make it bigger, make it smaller, move it off to the side, move the document, move the shapes, and then I can stop recording and listen to it play back.
Hello, my name is Jacqueline Calder.
So in the video you see
And
the writing on the screen, you can hear the talking that was recorded, and then you have that video there now. And I can record the next page if I wanted to on the next slide, and these are the different pages of the document. So I can do the same thing to each slide if I so want, and there are all the different pages. Or I can click the video icon there and export it to YouTube. Okay, so looking at the camera, you can use that camera to take pictures with the iPad. Photo booth is where you take pictures of yourself or anything, and you can add funny effects. Adobe Connect is very much like Adobe Connect on the internet on any web page. So if you are given an Adobe Connect room address to go to, you can enter it here, and then you can join in that web conference from the iPad or the iPod. Adobe Photoshop is like on the computer as well, where you bring in pictures. Oh, yep, okay. I don't allow that. And select a photo and bring in a photo, and you can edit that photo like you do in Adobe Photoshop. So I could choose this photo here, and I can make some changes on the appearance of it. There we go. I can sharpen it, I can change the contrast, I can do all sorts of fun little editing things here. If I save that, okay. and then save it back to my photo roll on my iPad. And I can take a look at iMovie, where I can make movies using the iPad. So when I open it up, I will start a new project. And here, if I tap the video icon on the right-hand side, I will be able to take some video. Here we go. We will do a wonderful video of the iPhone walking across the screen. There we go. Hit stop and hit save. And there you go. So that video is now in the timeline down below. And I can scrub it back and forth to see what it looks like. I can also go and bring in pictures as well as the video. So I can go to the camera roll and I can bring in a picture that I've already taken. There we go. And I can scrub back and forth and see that video play. There we go. And I can add audio. So I can use sound effects, I can bring in music, or I can do some of their automatic sounds. There we go, and play it now. There we go. So really quick video editing. Okay, you can also record your own audio. So if you wanted to narrate the story, now that you had some background music in it, so you'd hit the microphone and then you would just record your audio here and do it that way. We'll skip that for now. And looking at some of the settings at the top right, you can change any of the settings that you want. And then you can head back here to your main and click export, and you can export it to YouTube or Vimeo or however you want to share your video, just the camera roll or the storage on the iPad. Okay, so looking at Keynote, it's just like PowerPoint, and once you get in, you would just start a new presentation and go from there, and it's very much like PowerPoint. Numbers is like a spreadsheet, so you would just open that up, and it looks very similar as Keynote. Once you get into it, it will open up to a screen of your different presentations, and you'll click Add and create a new spreadsheet, and then you just choose from a template. In this case, we could choose a blank spreadsheet template and go from there. And looking at pages, it's the same thing. You get into pages and choose a template or a blank page. And this is like the Microsoft Word, so it's like a word processor. And you type in here. And then you can share it by emailing the document or sending it to iTunes or however you want to share it. Okay, and looking at Speak It, that's a way to have the iPad speak out text. GarageBand allows you to create music with recording voice and using different instruments. Google allows you to use Google Apps and also to do a Google search by voice. And if we just shift over here to this version of it, we can take a look at Dragon Dictation. Dragon Dictation allows it types out what you speak to it. Adobe Ideas allows you to create mind maps and sketches and drawing. Lots of uses for the iPad. Just remember it's a shared iPad, so they're all under the same connected account, which means that if you're in the settings, do whatever you can to avoid changing those settings and avoid adding accounts that you can. You can still log into different apps and log into different websites when you're on the web, but you need to make sure to unconnect or log off of all of those so that the iPad doesn't remember your login information and then it gets put in someone else's hands. Also, when handing back the iPad, when you're finished using it, make sure you delete all your photos, all your videos, all your documents, all your projects, and get rid of whatever you can. Go in and sign out of Dropbox if you use that, delete videos that you've created, that type of management things would be very helpful if you went in and did. Otherwise, your information and materials could get put into someone else's hands. So just be user beware.